All right, I think we should go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. As I say every time we have an event, especially an evening event, you could be anywhere else right now. You could be doing anything else, but you are showing up for writers and you are showing up for yourself. So thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to join us tonight. My name is A.R. Rogers, and I'm the coordinator for the Balcones Prize. What AR is the Balcones Prize, you may be thinking. So ACC offers a national literary prize. I know, it's crazy. Tell all your friends. We've done it for almost 20 years. Historically, we have awarded for fiction and poetry, and just this current cycle, we have also introduced nonfiction. So submissions are currently with our judges, of which Jjjjerome Ellis is one of them. Uh, um, so towards the end of the semester, be on the lookout for the announcement for the current cycle's winners. And we are all here tonight because we are honoring our poetry winner for the previous cycle, and that is Jjjjerome Ellis, and more about them in just a second. Uh, um, so if you're able, there's no pressure. If you're able, if you could turn your camera on. I understand that sometimes that feels icky and you don't want to look at yourself and that's really distracting and that can just like feel bad mental health wise. I get that. But if you can, we'd love to see your faces. Uh, um, but again, no pressure. So there's some faces. How beautiful. Uh, um, so tonight, just to give you a rundown, if you haven't attended one of our Balcones readings before, Jjjerome is going to read for us, of which I'm so excited. And then after that reading, we're going to have a Q&A. And so I'll start us off with that Q&A, but I don't want to be the only one asking questions. This is a community event. This is ultimately a student-focused event. So we ask that you have questions ready to go and you drop them in the chat. So we do ask that you please remain muted throughout the evening, just to manage a little chaos, and drop those questions in the chat. Myself and the other department members who are here, we are going to be monitoring that chat. We will do our very best to make sure your questions get answered. So when we get to that part of the evening, go ahead and start dropping those. Um, We've got a couple more events coming up this semester. We have one more tomorrow with Jjjerome. Jjjerome is going to visit my classroom, and that is just going to be a full-on Q&A. So students are going to ask questions about a variety of topics related to their work, the publication process, the life of a multidisciplinary artist. And when I say multidisciplinary, I mean it, as I'm sure we'll hear about tonight. So if you're able, pop in at 1:30. That Zoom link is on our socials and in our creative writing calendar, or you can reach out to me and I can get you that Zoom link. And then we are going to be joined by, um, I think Gerardo is going to join us for one more event. Is that true, Eli? Gerardo, one more event?
Yes, that is true. Next Wednesday night, actually.
Yeah, and
And
Gerardo Cordova, could you say who?
Cordova. Um,
Mm,
Quick point of order when you're done with introductions and everything, AR.
mhm.
Uh, are you recording on your machine?
Yep.
Okay. If you would pin your camera and Jerome's camera.
Yep.
Excellent. That way, recording is handled.
Yep.
Fabulous.
All right. So Gerardo Cordova is the fiction prize winner, and we've had an event with him, but he will be joining us again. Also, socials, calendar, and then next month we will be doing another classroom visit with the poet S.G. Huerta. So if you are one of our students and you need your two literary events, there's no excuse. We've had a lot this semester. We've got a few more coming up. All right. That's enough of me talking. I am going to introduce Jerome now, who I think has my favorite literary bio ever. Uh, um, you'll see why. Jerome Ellis, who uses any pronoun, is a disabled Grenadian, Jamaican, American artist, surfer, and a person who stutters. The artist works across music, performance, writing, video, and photography. Jerome has the great privilege of being married to a poet ecologist, Louisa Black Ellis. They live in a monastery on a creek in traditional Chesapeake and Nausiman territory. Jerome dreams of building a sonic bathhouse. If you would please help me welcome Jerome Ellis.
Oh, it's so sweet of you, AR. Thank you so much for your very, very kind welcome and introduction. And thank you all for having me and joining this evening. And 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 I want to thank my wife, Louisa Black Ellis, who you just mentioned, who is also here. Um, and we are in our little monastery um, this evening in Virginia. Um, and I want to thank you, AR, for all of your work bringing bring all this together, and also to Sasha West for for very generously choosing this book, Aster of Ceremonies, for the Poetry Prize this year, and for their very kind words about it. So I'm honored to be here with y'all to read a bit. Um, I am um I am wearing a pink hoodie and with the hood over my head. Um, my skin is brown, my hair and beard are black. I'm a black person, and there's a plant behind me in this room, and the walls are light shade of pink behind me. Um, I would love to AR, would you be able to enable me to share my screen if possible? I forgot to ask for that earlier.
You should be able to do it. Is it yelling at you?
Oh, it says sharing is not turned on, but I can send a request. So I
Yep,
just entered. Okay, perfect.
there we go.
Thank you so much. Okay. So yeah, I'll share my screen here. Can everyone see this page here? Okay, awesome. Perfect. So so let me let me find the cover real quick. So this book, Aster of Ceremonies, came out in 2023 in the fall, and the on the screen right now is the cover, which was so beautifully designed by Mary Austin Speaker. Um, the cover is has a um, pinkish purple background with a hand-drawn illustration of some aster flowers. They remind me of daisies. The leaves are pale purple, and the centers of the flowers are yellow. They're green leaves, and in white text or in black text on white backgrounds, scattered throughout the cover, it reads "Aster of Ceremonies, Poems, Jjjerome Ellis," and there are rows of asterisks in white. Um, and of course, even though it just has my name on the cover, the book was, of course, not just created by me. It was created by a wonderful team of people, including Mary Austin Speaker, who designed the cover as well as the interior of the book, along with Tikwa Diker. Um, I'll be showing some of the interior of the book, which I think they just did. I admire the the work that they did just so much. The book was edited by my dear friend Chris Martin, another amazing poet, and um, and the whole process was stewarded by Bailey Hutchinson. And there are over 1,000 plant names that appear in the book, and each one was meticulously and lovingly copy edited by Louisa Black Ellis. And when I was making the book, as I was nearing the end of the process, I and it came time to have it copy edited, and Louisa very generously agreed to do the copy editing. I told her that I was feeling um vulnerable about the stage that the book was at. It was about to be turned in, and I was like feeling a lot of doubt about my writing. And so I told her that, and she in the Word document where there were where I had all the plant names, where of course I had made many mistakes. She when she would make a correction in the comments, she would say, like, I think this plant name is supposed to be this, and I love you. Or I think this plant name is supposed to be this, and you're amazing, for every single one. And it meant so much to me, and I think about it all the time as one of many daily acts of um, incredible generosity and love on Louisa's part. So I'm very grateful that I made this book with this team of people. Um, I'll start with the opening poem that is short and reads, um, the slide now has the black text on a white screen that reads, "Give me a speech impediment that I may live. Give me a speech impediment that I may give notice." The next slide reads, "Give me a speech impediment that I may notice asters." And the word asters appears in purple, as do the names of plants throughout the book appear in purple. Um, I was inspired to use color in this way, one by Tikwa and Mary encouraging the use of color, and also because this book was published by Milkweed Editions as part of this series called Multiverse that is amazing, curated by Chris Martin, and the series centers books of poetry and other forms of writing by the neurodivergent, the disabled, the other chronically ill, the mad. And the previous book in this series, the second book, is called The Wanting Way by Adam Walfond. And Adam uses the color blue throughout his book so beautifully, and I was really inspired by that, and felt encouraged to explore the use of color. And I grew up in the church, and I remember as a child and reading in the New Testament where the words of Jesus would be written in red, as opposed to the rest of the text, which would appear in black. And my mom told me that this was a form of honoring the words of Jesus. So I wanted to kind of adopt this practice of using color to honor, and I wanted to honor the all the plants that are named in the book. So they get the purple. Um, let's see. I will, yeah, I'll read this here. So this is an essay that appears later on in the book. It's called Astering the Stutter. Dr. Bajoyan, a speech therapist I worked with from 2012 to 2013, taught me a technique called soft contact. If you're struggling to say a word that starts with P, B, or M, try starting the word as softly as possible, she said. Sometimes this made the syllable hard to hear. Pause could sound like Oz, brain like rain, master like aster. I want to follow this softness offered by the stutter. I am so grateful to you, Dr. Bajoyan. For most of my life, my relationship to my stutter was rooted in shame, anger, and despair. I responded to these emotions by trying and failing to master my stutter through various means, undergoing hypnosis, making a fist while I stuttered, opening the fist to release the word, talking in sing-song, expanding my diaphragm while speaking, saying my name is John, my middle name, or Sean. Failure has led me to a grove of unknowing. If I can't master the stutter, what can I do? What might it mean to try to aster my stutter? There's a asterisk after the word stutter here that reads, um, what does it read? Oh, I lost the footnote. The footnote is not here, but oh, here it is. It reads, I sometimes distinguish between my stutter and the stutter. My stutter with the lowercase s and the stutter with the capital S as a way of suggesting two ways of looking at the same thing. The Prussian synanthrologist, a botanist who specializes in Asteraceae, the aster family, Christian Friedrich Lessing opens an 1829 article with the following Latin words: Magno amore in Synanthiarum captus, seized by a great love of the aster family. My body has been writing a slow love song to this family my whole life, playing with dandelions as a child, craning upward to admire giant sunflowers, squealing as I cycle past stands of goldenrod on a trail through the great dismal swamp, a historical refuge for enslaved ancestors. Western science groups plants into families based on shared physical characteristics and evolutionary history. Each family contains genera, the plural of genus, and species. Asteraceae includes plants commonly called asters, as well as other plants, including elder dandelion, elder sunflower, and elder goldenrod. I find this a little confusing. I use the word elder throughout the book to, again, accord respect to the plants. For most plants in the aster family, what appears to be a single flower, elder sunflower, for example, is actually a composite of much smaller flowers, hence the family's alternative name, a compositae. Each petal of elder sunflower is called a ray flower, i.e., each petal has its own reproductive structures, and the center of elder sunflower is composed of many tiny disc flowers. What might it mean to try to aster you? I want to follow these marvelously plural flowers. For most of my life, I saw you only as a problem I had to fix. But working with these newspaper advertisements and writing phrases like, the stutters will be harbors, stutters are vessels, and stutters a false offense, has invited me into a more plural relationship to you. These newspaper advertisements that I mentioned, they they're part of, in some ways, the heart of the book, which I'll read some of um, shortly. Um, the slide right now reads, poet Eminor Bessie Philip Zong, quote, telling the story that can't be told. Um, there are several guides of this work, and one of them is the poet Eminor Bessie Philip, especially her book Zong, um, which, for anyone who might not be familiar, is a book of poetry published in 2008, where she takes a two-page legal document. It's an insurance claim case that concerns a massacre of Africans aboard a slave ship in the 18th century. Um, and the case is the ship captain and the ship owner are suing each other in an insurance claim over the cargo, um, in scare quotes, the people that they have murdered and how much money they're going to get for um, having murdered them. And so she asks, how do you tell the story that can't be told? How do you tell the story of this horrific event when all the only written documentation that we have is this legal case? And so and Emma Bessie Phillip is a poet as well as she has been a practicing lawyer um, in her life. As she says, she locks herself inside of the text and creates the book of poetry by restricting herself to only the words included in that legal case, as well as anagrams of those words, breaking um, and entering the archive in this way. And when I encountered this book, shortly after, I encountered another archive of slavery. Um, these thousands of newspaper advertisements that are sometimes called runaway slave advertisements that were notices placed in newspapers by enslavers when the people they were enslaving escaped. These notices were often very brief, usually just like a paragraph. They were often very expensive to place. They appeared in newspapers in the UK and the Caribbean and the US, Latin America. Um, and the advertisements often named the enslaved, but sometimes wouldn't even provide a name. They would say what they were last wearing, what they were wearing when last seen, provide a reward amount, and provide any physical characteristic that might help them be identified, like a scar or a stutter. There are hundreds of these that concern enslaved ancestors, as I refer to them in the book, who stuttered or stammered or had some kind of speech impediment. And I was so guided by North Bessie's method, and wondered if apprenticing myself to her and applying that method to these documents. Um, I was curious what that might lead to. Because encountering the names of these Black people who stuttered, I felt a, a kinship, a feeling of spiritual ancestry with them, um, and wanted to enter into some kind of relation, some kind of connection with them through time, and was curious if poetry might be way of doing that. So so there's this part of the book called Benediction. The slide reads, Benediction Movement 1, the choir chants. And in this section, the next slide, the text switches to italics and reads, Where's the prose that will house our rigor? Where's the prose that will house our stoppage? And this text in italics is taken directly from about 16 or so of these runaway slave advertisements. I used whole words and parts of words. So the word prose is taken from the word prosecuted, and the word stoppage is a word that they use to refer to speech impediment, a stoppage in speech. Where's the prose that will house our living? Where's the prose that will house our clothing? When the text shifts out of italics, what name did ancestor Lucy call herself? We do not know. We honor her relationship to her own name. According to the advertisement, she, quote, ran away on March 19, 1797, on or near land and water traditionally stewarded by, among others, the Sioux people, also known as Charleston, South Carolina. We honor the holiness of her speech and of her whole being. We thank all the plant elders for creating the oxygen she breathed. The text shift back to italics. The stutters may endeavor to return to the creek. Stutters born before April was born. Stutters may be before speaks. May be before April. Return may be before quest. Our reward is being in quest of stutters. There's a footnote here, another asterisk that reads, Thank you, James Harrison Monaco, for helping me hear this. It's a stutter and arbor of maybe. So this is movement one of the benediction. It goes on, and I'm gonna scroll through, but I wanted to just yeah, I'm gonna move through this here to movement two, which begins with this quote from the scholar Valentina Ismailieva. The proper name of God is a list. Benediction movement two, octave, the choir chants. And the next page, the text shifts entirely to purple and begins, We belong to you, Eldon, New Jersey T. Cenothus Americanus. We revere you, Elder Big, Cordgrass, Spartina, Sinusoides. We praise you, Elder Late Flowering, Boneset, Eupatorium, Serotinum. We worship you, Elder Netted Nutrush, Scleria, Reticularis. We bow before you, we listen to you, we need you, we kneel before you. This prayer, it continues for about 20 pages and hundreds of plant names. These are plants that live and have lived for a long time in and around Charleston, South Carolina. This is also the list where I made many mistakes with the with the plant names that Louisa very kindly corrected. And this movement is partially in dialogue with a specific advertisement concerning an enslaved ancestor named Betsy, who spoke with a stutter, lived and escaped in and around Charleston, South Carolina. And I wanted to attend to the plants that she may have encountered, she may have eaten, she may have used for medicine or shelter, um, experienced pleasure, beauty with, and so I wanted to bring them into relation with each other. And throughout the text here, there are many letters that repeat. I read the entire prayer aloud to Louisa, as well as Chris, as well as my friend James, who I mentioned earlier, and recorded myself and recorded where I stuttered. And then, depending on the relative duration of the stutter, I would expand the letter that I was stuttering on. So there's a row of W's to hold space for the stutters. Um, and then there's a song threaded throughout that's composed. The lyrics are taken from, again, this advertisement concerning ancestor Betsy, but also seven other um, advertisements in the same newspaper issue uh, concerning other things. Someone loses an umbrella and they put an advertisement in the newspaper for someone to, if anybody finds it, to return it to them. Somebody's selling some swampland. Um, so I'll sing this song very, very briefly and then end. And the song is notated in a form of musical notation that's often used to notate chant. I was interested in the way that in chant notation, the notes are given, the pitches are given, but the rhythm is left is and the timing is left up to the singer. Our stutter's vessel carrying the body up a river to a swamp, a land so fertile for a name to grow. Each kernel of coffee has a name. Each green morning has a name. Each consequence, each note, each yellow window that rings with evening has a name. Each name has a name written inside. The song goes on, but I'll pause there to make sure to have enough time for questions. But thank you all for listening.
Rome, my little poet heart is about to burst. Um, yeah, I'm like holding back tears right now. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's all I have right now.
Thank
So
you, AR. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you.
of course. So we're gonna start the Q&A. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, I'm gonna start us off. I could go the whole time, but I'm not going to. I'll start us off with a question, but as I'm doing that, please drop your questions in the chat. There is no way you don't have questions about what you just heard. Uh, so we want to hear from you. This is ultimately your event. We do this for you. We do
Mm.
this for our students. So we really want you to be a part of it and be in community with you. All right. Uh, um, so I think my most pressing question, Jerome, is, you know, as I continue to grow in my own poetic practice, uh, research becomes increasingly important to me. Uh, um, Maybe that's like Googling, or maybe that is doing a deep dive at the library. I can look a lot of different ways. And obviously, you've had to engage with some research, particularly in looking at, I'm assuming you tell me the kind of archival records of these runaway slave ads. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that process looked like, and where you were finding this information?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, JR. Um, yeah, very generous of you to ask. Um, I first learned about these advertisements in April or May of 2020. Um, so we were on lockdown, of course, and so I like my relationship to them was entirely dependent on the labors of archivists and librarians who have digitized, you know, hundreds and hundreds of issues of hundreds and hundreds of newspapers that I was finding through um, mainly the 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 digital library catalog at Columbia University. Um, I have a friend there who has for like 8 years now just like shared their login with me, which I'm and I thank them. The name is Dylan. I thank them in all of my books because they that access is like is invaluable. Um, but I first came across these advertisements in a book by the sound artist Christoph McGone, and there was just a footnote. It's like so often for me, it's just like a footnote or a little shard of something that then leads down a rabbit hole. It was just a footnote that was commenting on um, stuttering amongst an enslaved people, and I followed up the reference and then found all these advertisements. Um, and so there are various databases that are free to access as well on the internet, and some of them you can search by a keyword. So I would search stutter or stammer, which are synonyms. In the UK, they tend to use the word stammer more, um, or speech or impediment or stoppage. Once I learned that word, and I mean, it was very emotionally fraught, dealing with these 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 archives. As you can imagine, they are documents of violence, of course, and they are also documents of actions taken by the enslaved. I think the words agency and resistance have been like very fruitfully um, interrogated by historians like Saidiya Hartman, for example. So I hesitate to say that the advertisements document, you know, resistance, point blank, but they at the very least, they are complex documents to engage with. And I was aware throughout of like um there is this logic of so central to enslavement that it um involves databases and spreadsheets and the like the organization by reducing people to names in a list or a ledger. So I could feel also that history in then like using the structure of a database to encounter these ancestors. Like I would ask myself like, oh, am I like reproducing that logic in certain ways, Um, and that was part of the reason why I decided to use the word ancestor to refer to them. Why I like wanted it was important for me to include their names, like Ancestor Lucy or Ancestor Ancestor Betsy. Um, yeah, and yeah, I would have to take breaks, and but yeah, it's like throughout, like I have had so much gratitude for all the people who the historians, the archivists, the librarians, um, scanning these things and compiling them and preserving them, So yeah,
Yeah, we love our librarians and archivists. And we love
yes,
friends
yeah.
who share their logins and don't gatekeep information.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you so much. And I really like the reframing of those documents as yes, we have to contend with the fact that they are documents of violence, but they are also ways to see agency uh,
Hmm.
from enslaved folks. So thank
Yeah.
you for helping us kind of reframe that. Uh, um, we are getting so many questions in the chat. I'm really excited
Hmm.
about.
Hmm.
So a question that's kind of popped up in a couple different ways is there a reason that you are engaging so much with nature and the natural world? Do you yourself have a bond with the natural world? Uh, um, why flowers and plants as a creative choice? Is it because the aster slash master resemblance? So basically, what's going on there?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much um, for asking. Um, well, now I get to talk about my wife, so that's always my favorite thing to do. Um, um, yes, I mean Louisa is is so many things, including an ecologist, and she is a landscaper and a landscape designer and studies plants so deeply and has such deep relationships with plants um, and the earth in general. And she has taught me so much about how to cultivate those relationships and to practice being in right relationship with the earth. I've always had a strong bond with nature, but when I was but for most of my life, especially when I was a child, it was more focused on 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 animal life. And it's only as like as an adult that I've um been able to connect more with plants. Yeah, and I Louisa's taught me so much about all that plants have to teach us about resilience, about uh, adaptability, patience, and she's of course taught me so much about how enslavement and colonization and genocide, you know, impact plants as well as as humans,
Yeah.
of course. And plants have taught me so much about how to relate to my stutter. Like I have um, like for most of my life, I felt that my stutter was something unnatural, that it was something that abnormal that I needed to get rid of, and and um, it's only gradually that I've been able to relate to my stutter as something as much a part of the earth as a sunflower, um, and something that has as much right to be here as any other. Um, yeah, again, as a sunflower. Um, so and 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 yes, the um, Chloe, to your question about the aster and the master resemblance, yeah, the reflecting on that technique I shared about earlier from Dr. Bajoyan, the soft contact. I have wanted to as I grow and get older, I've wanted to just honor my stutter more. And one way of honoring it is by taking seriously and following the ways that it affects language. And so if given this technique, given that because of the stutter, I might articulate the word master in such a way that it sounds like Aster. That became like a doorway. Um, and of course, the word master, of course, shows up in these advertisements a lot, and often in the context of a warning. There's often a warning at the end, especially in coastal areas. There's a warning to masters of all vessels, um,
Mm.
captains of ships, against harboring the enslaved. So I was interested in what happens when we pay attention to the flower that is at the heart of that word. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was discussing your work with my students yesterday in class, and we were reading the sections of that essay where you talk about reapproaching the stutter as something uh, that can be accepted and that has the same
Mm,
value and right as the sunflower. Uh,
mm,
and I'm just like so personally grateful. I think my whole class was grateful for that because it like gives us permission
mm,
also see the things that we don't like about ourselves
mm,
as something worth loving and accepting, something worth existing. Uh,
yeah.
so I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Mm,
So valuable.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Questions keep piling in. Let's see. Um, let's see. Cam Martinez asks, how do you view the role of storytelling in preserving cultural memory and identity, especially in relation to enslaved ancestors?
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Cam. Well, something I wanted to mention, or I forgot to mention earlier too, was another one of the guides of this work is the scientist Robin Wall Kimmerer, especially her book Braiding Sweetgrass, which has taught me so much about plants and their teachings, and has also taught me so much about this question that you asked, Cam, the role of storytelling and preserving cultural memory and identity. She teaches me so much throughout that book about how important storytelling and storytellers like her are in preserving. Um, I think I think one of the things that learned from her, and learned from someone like Emma Bessie Phillip, again, is in direct relation to this question of documents, of um, you know, Ancestor Lucy, the the ancestor mentioned in one uh, of these advertisements, that advertisement may be the only written document that we have that gives any information about her.
Mhm.
Um, and it's the information comes through the the pen of the enslaver.
Mm.
Um, and so someone like like Eminor Bessie Phillip is doing vital work in um in in refusing the idea that that the memory of her of that person, Ancestor Lucy, and her life and what she did, um that 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 all we can know about it is what this enslaver said about her. Of course that like I see value in even just knowing her name. But Emma Bessie Phillip to me in invites this idea that through poetry and through certain ways of manipulating language that we can access and preserve and pass on, um, this again, as you say, Cam, this this cultural memory and identity through other means. Um, and I just find that so powerful. And of course, like she reminds me that poetry has been used for that very purpose, for thousands of years. So, yeah, and I like this question of preservation. It reminds me of um, the practices of of conservation in environmental work. Um, the yeah, just the 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 importance of paying attention to what can easily be lost and bringing one's work and one's skills as a storyteller to hold on to what can easily be lost, especially what can be erased by the state, by by people in various positions of power. So yeah.
Thank you for that. I think that's such a good reminder for all of us, especially living in such a technology-driven world. I think we have in our minds that things are being like captured and recorded in this like permanent way, but paradoxically, it just makes things more ephemeral.
Hmm.
Uh, uh,
Hmm.
so thank you for that reminder that everything is subject to loss, and it's our job as poets, as writers, to do some conservation work there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll take just a couple more questions. How's that sound?
Oh yes, I'm happy to stay as long as
Okay,
long as
excellent.
folks want. Yeah.
So I'll take a question from Steven. Steven's asking some questions that I also had. So where did you begin your journey into developing your art? Uh, um, where did you start? Like, what was your original genre and process?
Mm.
Um, they say, I see threads of poetry, music, art, graphic design in your arrangements, but more importantly, your delivery is very abstract and chaotic in a good way. While your flow is very focused and relatable. Yeah, so I think there's a couple questions in there. So can you talk to us about yeah, your multiple disciplinary works? How did you start? Where did you start? And how do you kind of maybe reconcile uh, um, both like structure and chaos on and off the page?
Yes. Yes. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Stephen. Um, it makes me smile when I think about like sort of my first one of my first, if not the first sort of formal artistic endeavor that I did was when I was in fourth grade and I was part of this competitive improv troupe called Odyssey of the Mind. That was it was so much fun. It was so specific.
That's the best thing I've heard all day.
Yeah, no, it was so good. We would like meet after school, like a group of like seven kids or so, and then we would go like to like competitions and compete against other elementary schoolers. And it was like yeah, I think I have very little memory of it, but I think they would give you as a group like prompts and you would create like on the fly like these little skits um and perform them. And so it combined improvisation, which is like which has always been central to my practice, um, especially musically. And it combined a performance and collaboration. And I think that's like still, yeah, those are like those seeds are like still very important to me. And I love this word you use, Stephen, chaotic, because I feel that like improvisation as a practice, which later studied formally through studying jazz. But improvisation as a practice to me is in one way like a set of practices for navigating a, a chaos um, musically through time. Um, And I remember, so I loved doing that. And then when I went to middle school, I remember remembering how much I loved being on the stage. But then at that point, I think once I started getting into middle school, my perception, my relationship to my stutter, it shifted to where I like I decided that I could not pursue performing because of my stutter. I was like, oh, I would love to explore like being an actor, but I just can't. And so I just like shut it down. And I'm curious about that because I think in elementary school I didn't feel like that, but I think I came into like a new form of self-consciousness where I felt like I wasn't able to do that. And then I tried my hand at visual arts when I was 12 and I quickly decided that I had no talent in that. And it was not for me. And then I started playing the saxophone when I was 13 and that really took and I still since then still primarily identify as a musician. Um, um, and pretty soon after I started playing the saxophone, I started studying jazz. And so I still yeah like I still feel that I am like very much at the core of my practice is a commitment to improvisation and is a commitment to I think creating a space where I feel free, um, um, including where I feel free to speak and stutter. Um, so in making a book like this, I um there's at the back of books that are published by a Copper Canyon, I think, press. They have this note at the back that says in Chinese, the character for poetry combines the character for temple and the character for word. And I always loved that. I was thinking about it today, and I feel that in my work, including my books, I'm trying to create in many ways like a temple for the stutter, like a place where the stutter is honored, because it so often is not, including by myself. So much of my life I spent um, really struggling to accept it, let alone honor it. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for talking about kind of your origin story as an artist. That like makes a lot of sense. Uh, how there's so many, your history is so rich, and all of those are showing up in Aster of Ceremonies, which I hope to talk more about tomorrow. We'll
Thank
take
you.
one more question that's come up a couple of times. If you didn't get your question answered this evening, I'm so sorry, but that just means you have to join us tomorrow for the Q&A at 1:30, where we'll have a whole hour of just questions. So I hope that you pop in on that classroom visit. So a couple folks have asked a question that I love, which was, what was your goal in Aster of Ceremony? Or, and the poet in me wants to ask behind that question, did you even have one?
Yeah.
So can you talk about your potential objectives that you had with the book?
Yes, I love this question. Thank you. Um, I think one goal that I don't know that I ever thought about consciously until now, but I think one goal was to stretch myself, um, and to challenge myself. Um, and I and I think also, I think I also I wanted there to be like a um what's the word? Like a journey, for lack of a better word. I when shaping this book and the previous book, I was thinking in terms of plays and movies where um and like the arcs of plays and movies. And I wanted the structure to to feel like a certain kind of journey that I had I had a sense of it, but I never articulated explicitly. But the book begins with like a set, like I think it's in five parts, and part one is like sort of shorter lyrics, and then two is an essay, and then three is the benediction, which is quite long, and then four is that essay Astering the Stutter, and then the fifth is a little coda on the benediction. And so I wanted it to like move in a certain way, um, and to embrace both linear reading, especially in the essays, but I also wanted to invite and encourage non like various forms of less linear reading, because that's often how I like to read, is just to be able to like open up a book randomly and 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 enter it there. So I think I wanted to wanted to create, yeah, make it feel maybe like hospitable to different forms of engaging with it and reading. And that's any success that we may have achieved in that is all Tikwa and Mary in the design. I think the design for me is always so important. Um, yeah, yeah, I, I think it's also important for me to with this and with other work to also like be open to like not have too many goals or to not be too specific with my goals. Like I like inviting a kind of open-endedness, and that's something that I like about poetry in general. For me, poetry is often a space um where I get to commune with the open-endedness of language, which for me is very it, it feels very good. So yeah.
Thank you for talking about that, and also for another reminder that like we really shouldn't overwhelm ourselves with
Mm,
goals and objectives
mm,
when we're putting together a text or a collection, that it will tell us
mm.
what it wants and what it needs. And
Yeah.
too much of our own control over it is usually kind of destructive.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you for reminding me, AR, that for me that's also important for me because I really it's I really have to have to remind myself constantly that like the reader is going to complete it. Like that it's actually impossible for me to make something whole or you
Yeah.
know or complete that like and it I try to think of it like a conversation too. Like I want there to be room, room, room for the reader. Like I don't want to talk too much,
Yep.
even though it's just me talking on the page. But and I try to do that like visually too, even in some of the slides I shared, like to have like big spaces in between the words, just to have some space.
Yeah, it gives us space to slide in and hang out on the page.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, my friend, and I hope I can call you my friend.
Oh, yes.
Great. Um, I'm just like a little speechless. I'm so happy. And if you know me, I'm usually a little grumpy. But you have been such a delight, and I
Mm,
know that our students got so much out of this. Thank you for like showing up with your authentic self and for helping us navigate your book, helping us think about our own practices as writers in more meaningful ways.
mm.
I'm just really grateful that you're able to share some time with us. And I'm so happy that I get to do it all over again with you tomorrow. Uh, uh,
Likewise.
yeah, my class is super excited, but like I said, that's not just for my students. Anyone is welcome to attend via Zoom as well. So hope to see you there at 1:30. Uh, um, yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the hour, we got a couple more events this semester, and I'm really, really grateful that you all came out and hung out in your bedrooms, your living rooms, in front of your computer, and like shared this with us, and we're in community. You could have been doing anything else, and it's nice to see your faces. All right, well, that's gonna do it for tonight. Thank you again. Go outside, go take a walk, go look at the plant, see if you can name some trees, name some plants. If you can't,
Mm.
download an app. It'll tell you how to identify them. Yeah, so thank you again, Jerome, for um, asking us to think about making connections to the world around us. All right, I gotta stop talking. I adore you all. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.